everybody? What is good? Just wanted to make sure that I had a bunch of people onto the call before we began for this morning. Hopefully everybody had a great day yesterday. Excuse me, and is having a great morning today as well. Again, good morning, good morning, good morning for everybody who's on, whether you're a legacy student or not. I definitely appreciate the familiar faces and the people who have been joining on every single day with myself and really jumping onto these charts to get educated, really understand what the markets are going to be giving us for the day, see what opportunities we can find, and really go from there. So again, good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a great day so far. So what I like to do is obviously mark up charts, really educate, really show you guys what's needed to become profitable. So if you guys have any questions, if there's any specific markets you guys would like for me to take a look at, feel free to let me know, and I'm definitely going to take a look. I'll make sure that I'm identifying everything to the best of my ability, so that way you could duplicate those ideas on your own. The whole purpose of these sessions and the reason why I'm on these YouTube calls is I'm not going to sit here and be placing 1,000,001 trades. It's not what I'm about. What I'm about is helping you all be able to identify your own individual trades. That way you become your own money machine, right? That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people always just want the answer to the tests, but you never want to just be able to do the work your own. I promise you, you will make more money on your own with the confidence that you build with your own trade style. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do for you guys. Really help educate and really help you guys. What's good, everybody? I see you guys in the chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's good, Sheena? What's good, my man, Salah? But yeah, if you guys can do me one quick favor, again, it definitely helps. It's been growing the channel massively, and I do want to extend my appreciation to everybody. If you guys can, please like this video. Like it so that way a bunch of other people could join onto this and get value as well. Somebody said, Salah, gold and US 100. You mean NAS 100? Okay. So one thing, Salah, I'm not going to look at NAS 100 until later because I don't want you trading that. If you're new to trading, you should not even be looking at that market. And that's just me being real. And that's for everybody. I see a lot of people trading, and again, I still have tons of messages. I get them every day, at least 5. That's not even a joke. Of people saying, yo, I should have never traded new US30. My account was too small. I had $13 in my account. I don't even know a broker will let you trade that shit with $13. But be very careful. So I'll look at that towards the end, but we're all on gold right now. So obviously I'll take a look at gold. Totally true. I feel way better when I lose on my own analysis. And I'll take a look at Euro Gbpjpy as well, because I took a sell on that and that kind of just like said, fuck you. I know I'll put that in the signal group for you guys as well. Not even just there, but here as well. So I did tell you guys to sell Euro JPY. It did hit our stop loss. So we'll take a look at that as well. Again, just transparency. You're never going to win every trade. Like, I think that's one thing a lot of people get angry about, because I had somebody say J or EJ trade was a loss. I'm like, yeah, I know. We're not going to win all of them. So we'll go over that here in a second as well. But Euro JP or gold here rather, it's kind of, well, now it's giving us a little bit more movement because I was waiting for this to give us a potential idea for a buy. So before I was looking for the buy, and it's the same structure that I had before that's being used again. I mean, you kind of already see what we're looking at now. Gold is now turning into a sell, right? If we look left to get right, there wasn't really too much structure to the left, except when we got here, which I didn't expect to really, I didn't expect it to respect this price point. I'm looking at this zone over here. So me seeing that this zone, this what used to be support ended up being a level of resistance and is now being used as resistance again. When we scale down to smaller time frames, we're able to identify a little bit like an easier idea. On the 4 hour, I mean, I would even put these levels back as my structure because it can come back down to these points and continue to buy. It could respect that market structure. But I don't necessarily see that happening because when we scale down to like the 2 hour and the 1 hour, we'll be able to see the start of a potential reversal. Now, I make 20 minutes before GBP CHF buy and it hits take profit. You made 20. I don't know what you mean by that, Salah. You made $20 on GBP CHF and it hit your TP. Is that what you're saying? But with gold, real quick, we're starting to see like the catalyst of a potential reversal. So we'll actually write that down. Potential reversal. And it's because we're at a significant level of structure, right? We saw that on the higher time frame, the daily, even if we go into the weekly. Because again, we have to understand the overall idea. Yes, gold is very bullish, right? But if we look left to get right, we can see that we're coming back into a level of structure. This will be the entire zone. I'll draw the whole zone, and then we'll cheat a little bit because we know where the market is pretty much respected on the current standpoint, where the current price is. So we can see that we're at a level of significant structure. So anytime you see a significant level of structure like this, especially on a higher time frame, being the monthly, the weekly, and even the daily, you want to identify that as a what? PRZ, a potential reversal zone. I'm just putting potential reversal, but a PRZ, right? So we'll draw this zone back out. We're going to cheat so that when we scale down to a smaller time frame, our candles and everything in our analysis isn't blue like the structure that we have marked up there. So when I scale back down, because on the higher time frame, I'm not going to do too much, right? I don't need to mark up 1,000,001 things on my chart in order for me to understand what's happening. Do I need to go ahead and draw a channel? There's no channel. I'm not going to do that. Am I going to go ahead and use a fib from this swing high to this swing low? No, I'm not going to do anything like that. There's no need for that, right? For me, and I know a lot of people might disagree, but like, well, you definitely should use that fib. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't use it only because it's one, you're in such a big time frame, that's such a big move, and there's already smaller moves that happen within it, that me as an individual trader, I like to identify the individual impulses and corrections, meaning this move right here, and then that move right there, and then this as an individual. And then if it's starting to push up higher, like how we see here, I would then start to look at my fibs in this manner, because this is an impulsive move, and there has been no real correction. I'd probably do that. But as far as looking for any selling pressure, meaning I'm taking my fib from this end to here, no, I would not do something like that. So the reason why I'm saying that is because you don't have to have so much on your chart in order for you to get a strong idea. I think that's where a lot of individuals, and I mean, I've done it too. When I first started learning how to trade, I had thought that you had to learn 15 different strategies and have so much on your chart. You do not. You want to keep it as simple as possible. I know right now I'm at a significant level of structure. That structure is important. Why? Because there could be a potential reversal from there. Remember, this is called price action trading, right? We identify the most relevant level of price and the actions that proceed within them. What are some of those actions? Some of those actions could be, I mean, in this case, candlesticks, right? We can see the behavior of candles. This was a strong bullish market until it got here, and then what? The market was like, you know what? Do we really want to push up any higher? Let me give us a doji, right? Let me give you a rejection candle. Let me give you wicks to the upside. Let me show you an exhaustion candlestick itself. You scale down to a smaller time frame, being the 4 hour. Now I would mark this up. I'm gonna get rid of this zone up here again because I don't want too much on my chart where I'm confused. I'll put a line there because I know that is market structure or strong resistance rather. Strong, I'll even put weekly resistance. Because I don't want too much clutter in my chart. I just want to understand the market movement. Is it buying or selling? And where am I going to buy and sell from? Or is this going to completely disregard the buys and continue to be bearish and start looking for a reversal? So I'm going to mark this up as my zone. Actually, I'll mark this up, be a little bit more specific, because this can end up coming back down here after a correction and start buying. So what we'll do is, if broken, sells are strongly confirmed. Because what that'll mean is we're really creating new lower lows and lower highs, because we have to actually break a lower low, being here, of market structure, to really confirm that buyers are exhausted and sellers should be taking over. But we haven't broken that low just yet, so we can even consider this a buy range if respected. But the one thing that I'm saying, the reason why we may be looking at a potential reversal is if I get rid of all this. Actually, I'll leave that there. I'll get rid of this. The market is kind of showing us the exhaustion that it's getting from gold, or from the buys on gold. If we take a quick look and we draw out some things. Actually, there we go. So we have our initial trend line that's been broken, right? So we have a breakout of our trend line. You're never going to get a weak break of anything, whether it's a trend line, whether it's structure, a fib. It's always going to be a strong, significant break, or you can see here that bearish engulfing candle gave you a strong sense of buyers are no longer in the market and sellers may be taking over. So if I do this, if I also look at the idea that, where is, oh yeah, I forgot it's right here. We also have the idea of a head and shoulders pattern. I don't like the tool on this because it never really works that well, so I'll just draw it out. You guys see what I'm talking about though. Left shoulder, head of the pattern, right shoulder, break of your neckline. So break of neckline, break of neckline, and trend line, which is basically the neckline as well of the pattern itself. So break of neckline and the trend line itself. And the neckline is just simply what? It used to be support, it is now resistance. I'm gonna make this zone a little bit smaller because I know I have a lot on the chart already, so we'll be making it more simple. And since we have a retest of that structure, what else can you add? This is what I mean about adding your confluences together to find a strong idea in the market. And look at that. Right between the 50 and the 61.8. So my analysis with gold is you'll be looking for sells. And why is New York City always so loud? If you guys hear that in the background, let me know. I live in this cool ass building. They got maintenance, but they be like chopping the bushes and mowing the lawn and moving garbage around like 5 in the morning, I feel like. So if it gets too loud, let me know, guys. I apologize. But yeah, that's my idea with gold. I mean, you're looking at strong weekly resistance. We're already creating the idea of lower highs and lower lows because we can see how this low here is lower than this low here. Again, we've broken that initial trend line. We've broken the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern. We're retesting that area. When we add all of our confluences together, you can see right now that this market is showing that it's probably going to reverse. So what can you do? I know a lot of you guys are like, what can we do? Well, there's one of two things you guys can do. If you guys were risky, this is a sell zone. Now, by no means, and I repeat, by no means am I telling you guys to go sell this right now. Because this could still very much consolidate. It can still play around in this range for a bit and then continue to be bullish. You know what I mean? Or even more so, come down here and become bullish, right? And not giving you the best risk to reward idea for your trade. So if you were looking at gold the same way that I am now, if you had this marked up, you had the same idea, then that's on you. I mean, we have very similar analysis, and if that was your entry point, by all means. But for me, I wouldn't sell this right now. That's just my honest opinion because one, I would like to see how this candle closes. We have about almost less than 15 minutes left on this because the next candle can open up and come right back within that range and offer a better entry, right? That's the main reason why I wouldn't enter this right now. The next candle could, because right now you can see how it's consolidated. It's ranging here. It's making up its decision. It's anytime you see this, like a railroad track in the market, if you will, you would probably want to start to identify or know that the market is building up the needed energy for it to really make the next move. You said 30 minutes creating a pattern. Oh, that's a 30-second. Damn, I don't even, you got to have an even more upgraded. I already upgraded my trading. Oh yeah, you got a bearish variant here. Your evening star candlestick pattern. So, I mean, at this point, I would want to see, excuse me, guys. I'm getting like sick. I don't know what it is. So I'm hoping like I don't get too crazily sick so I can still do the sessions with you guys. But if, yeah, I mean, I would still allow this market to consolidate and range here for a little bit. If the next candle can open up and reach back into this zone, I'd probably start looking for sells. If not, if we could do this, if the market reaches this point, down to this low, this could be considered a potential buy area. So I'll remark this up and say potential buys if respected. Potential buys if respected. And then obviously we know if it is not respected and it is broken, you can then identify or confirm that sellers are very much within the market and even identify that zone as a sell. So if you don't buy from there, you leave that zone there the same and you look for potential sells. So very, very simple concept. No, you said 20 minutes before it moves very strong and it hits TP. Oh, that's what you mean? Okay. I mean, if you're hitting take profit, that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? I don't want to know why you're hitting take profits. I want to know what you guys need help with so you can continue to hit take profits. But yeah. All right, let me take a look at Euro JPY, because that's something that I personally traded as well. So I want to see what was in it, like what is going on with this in a sense, because we did take a loss on this, right? Because I did put this in the Discord again. I put this in the Discord because there was a legacy line trade set up and there was a cipher pattern trade set up. But as we can see here, if I'm correct, it was roughly around, I think it was like around this point where we placed the sell, right? So when I was looking at this, there was, I'm not going to go into legacy line, like the entry of it. It's just like a fancy little strategy that I have with this, where I'm able to, well, not always able, as you can tell. It's still within that zone, so I might actually go ahead. Oh, wait, no, I'm bugging. I remembered I just replayed it. My bad. But I was looking at a zone of interest with my legacy line strategy, and then there was actually a harmonic pattern, a bearish cipher. So anytime I identify like a cipher pattern, or not just cipher pattern, a harmonic rather, I'm always going to try to place my entry accordingly based off of that pattern itself. It was the first time I've ever seen a cipher or a harmonic pattern rather with a legacy line entry in the mix. So I wanted to take advantage of that. But as you see here, if I go ahead and I delete this, you can see that it's still very much within that range still. So I might actually, potentially might place another sell on this. But our stops were hit. If I'm correct, our trade looks on like this. Stops were maybe, I think, about 30 pips. So, I mean, not a huge loss, but still a loss nonetheless. But it's still very much consolidated and ranging around that area. And if we actually go to Forex Factory, we can see that later on today we have tentative news for the Japanese yen. And actually within almost 30 minutes, we'll have news for the Canadian dollar. So we got to be very careful if we're looking at anything with the CAD. But I do think the reason behind this choppy market is due to the BOJ outlook and obviously this monetary police statement. So anything when you have fundamentals with trading, there's going to be a lack of volatility leading up until that news. So we're not going to get the strongest movements on any yen pair for the moment, maybe except for G or for like GJ, because that, like, the pound is at least against the Japanese yen gaining a ton of strength. But I would at least allow the market to really develop after the news. So as far as looking at Euro JPY, I mean, on a technical standpoint, it's still very much bearish. We can see it's in a bearish market. We can see the rejections starting to happen around this area. But the reason for the correction is we look left, we came right back down to a price point. That's the entire zone. I don't like my zone that big. I like to look at the extreme highs and lows. So for me, it hasn't reached the actual structure point yet. So what I would think is that this will eventually come right back down to this point of structure. Can I check US oil? Yes. I never even look at those type of markets. Yep, no problem, bro. So I would at least expect Euro JPY, any and all yen pairs to continue to push down much lower. Real quick, does anyone, and I'm not saying this a lot, you always have questions. I just want to make sure I'm catering to other people as well. I know you're good. But does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any other charts that you guys want to take a look at? I just want to make sure that I'm catering to everybody, because my man Salah just like, yo, give me all your money. But yeah, I mean, Euro JPY, any and all yen pairs, I don't necessarily think that there's going to be much movement until the news, so I'd wait for that. But we kind of are, if we look left a little bit, even on this small time frame, we are reaching some form of structure here. There was some form of resistance that was made at this point, so I would at least say that there could be an identity for potential sells. And let me see this on the 2 hour really fast. So the reason why I'm on the 2 hour really fast is because I want to make sure that I'm using my fib the correct way. With that, yeah, that would have to be the whole impulse. So I'm actually going to have to measure my my fibs from this high to this low. So if anything, I'm going to be a little bit more specific. I never do this. But I'm going to just be specific on the 38.2. The reason being is maybe before news or even as news happens, it'll spike up to 38.2, reject, and then come down, right? But the reason being is because anytime I'm having a fib ratio or a fib tool drawn out, the last thing I'm going to do is just say, oh, it's above the 23.6. It hasn't reached a fib ratio. It's going to have to gravitate towards something. So if anything, I'll use that as my potential sell range, as my conservative. Ooh, I'm sorry, guys. That was random. That came out of nowhere. Sorry for sneezing on you guys. And I'll put this as my aggressive sell range. And the reason why it's aggressive is, again, because I do not have a other form of confluence at that point. There's no fib ratio. There's no trend lines. The only thing I'm getting is a smaller time frame structure that was made there, but it doesn't look like the best, right? It doesn't seem like the best area for us to get into. Up here definitely does, giving you better risk to reward. So I mark it up like this: conservative sell, aggressive sell. So aggressive sell. Now, when I'm drawing these up and I'm marking them up, it doesn't mean that immediately when we get to these points, I'm making a trade that moment. You always have to remember that you're allowing your trade to develop. When you mark up your charts, you're marking it up to identify where you're going to enter from. That's why I always say you're not basing your entries off of a time frame, right? You don't have to scale down to these. I mean, if you want to, that's cool. I understand that there is value with them, but I think everybody gets mixed up with the idea that there's some guru strategy on how to enter a market. There is not. There's no different way of entering a chart or a trade than anyone else. It all revolves around price. So what I'm looking at is I'm trying to identify the best range, the best price that the market will most likely give us an action from. And then I want to identify those actions when it reaches that point. So just because we're at an aggressive sell range right now doesn't necessarily mean we're going to sell right now, because look at this current candle, right? It may actually give us exactly what we want up here. This candle's leaving a wick to the downside, showing us a level of bearish rejection, right? Or bullish rejection rather, because we're going in a bullish direction. But you can see this wick to the downside and how this candle is looking to close with about 3 minutes or 4 minutes, 3 minutes on the clock, right? I'm bugging. I gotta put my damn contacts in. So, and look, it's already kind of breaking above that point. So I'm actually going to keep that. We're not even going to have an aggressive sell point. We're going to keep the conservative sell range here. So we got our conservative sell range. So that is my idea with the Euro JPY. Now again, with news coming out, I would be, or later on, not coming out anytime soon, but I would be extremely careful with this, because one, before news comes out, what ends up happening is either the consolidation or false moves. It looks like everyone's like, oh, it's buying, so it's going to buy during news, let me buy now, and the news comes out and it starts selling tremendously, and vice versa. So you want to always be careful. You never want to really trade anything. You don't want to trade anything before news. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody knows what the news is going to be. Nobody can sit back and say, oh, I'm a guru, and go and place a sell before NFP and they think they're going to win. That's not the case. Us as retail traders will never truly know what the news is going to be, unless you're continuously watching, news on whatever platforms and following all the unless you do that, there's a potential idea for it. But yeah, that's why I stay away from the news. I don't trade anything fundamental. And usually when there's news coming out during that day, especially red level folder news being the one that you would really care about, I stay away from that initial market. So anything with the Japanese yen in it, I'm probably not going to be trading for the day. If I have trades open on it, I'll let them ride, but I wouldn't necessarily go and place new trades for them. So that's my idea with that. I'll take a look at GJ real quick as well, because I know we were looking at this yesterday, actually a few days, and I was like, if it can come back down to these points, we look for buys. But the overall idea was if it can break above this point, it was going to start to buy, and that's exactly what it did. So I was actually looking for sells on this. I'm not going to lie. I was looking to see if we can sell from anywhere around this range back down to these two initial points, but we don't have that anymore. So a lot of these markers are showing us that it is, in fact, ready to be more bullish, especially GJ. So I want to see if it can reach a specific point and confirm the bullish idea, being these highs. Oh, there you go. I already wrote it down. These highs must be broken in order to confirm strong buys. So I want to see how the Japanese yen reacts around news. If we get a bullish push from news later on tonight, then we kind of have a strong case that the Japanese yen, anything Japanese yen being GJ, Euro JPY, AJ, things like that, they'll continue to look for strong buys. Because as you can see here on GJ, we found a strong level of support. So that level of support has been confirmed to be respected. This is why I always tell you guys it's important to go on the higher time frames. Because a lot of people, I mean, I sold GJ as well. I saw a small opportunity for it. But as you can see here, the whole idea overall, we are at a PRZ zone. This market is looking to be a strong buy. So the news later might confirm that. So let's see how everything works out. And then somebody said US oil. So this ain't something I would really trade. Hold on. That's another thing too. If you're looking at US oil, you got to understand that you have Canadian news coming out. So you're not looking at that right now at all. That's something you guys have to take into consideration. Check the news every morning. What's today? Wednesday? Today's Tuesday. Okay, I don't know why I thought today was Wednesday. But anytime you have Canadian news, that is going to affect US oil, right? They're a correlated pair. But this is the thing, Salah. What type of market are you currently in? I know overall it's pretty bearish, but you got to look at it. So I want you guys to always, so tell me when you guys give me a chart, let me know what it is that you need with it. Like what is the initial question that you have with it? Because I'm always going to tell you guys, and I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this to sound rude or disrespectful by no means. I'm doing this because nobody else is going to tell you exactly what I'm telling you. Nobody's going to be this honest and real with you. Look at it. Just look at it. Right? I'm trying to help you guys understand the basics, the common sense aspect of trading, to try to keep it as simple as possible. Look at this market. What can you tell me? Is it up? Is it down? Is it bullish? Is it bearish? Is it buying? Is it selling? That's what you need to ask yourself when you jump onto a chart, right? You're not just jumping onto a chart. Oh, what do I do? What is it doing? Like, look. Where are we? Is this a level of resistance? Mark that up. Did you reach that point yet? No. So what are you probably going to do? It's probably going to buy up into that point. Make more sense? So let the market reach that point before you make, or it makes a decision. We can't do anything on this yet. There's nothing on this. I don't care what anybody says. If anybody's like, I see trades. You're not trading unless you reach your entry criteria. There is no entry criteria for this just yet. I'm just marking up points of interest that I'd look for entries at, because I don't want to overcomplicate any of my trading. I know the market's buying right now, so I'm probably going to want to buy as well at either one of those points. That is your markup. It's trending bullish. It is, right? So you want to make sure that you're following that direction until you're not supposed to. So I have my zones marked up. I'll get rid of this, and that's it. Like, I'm not trying to overcomplicate anything within my trading. And just to give you guys an idea, this is also an inverted head and shoulders pattern. You just have to look. Guys, when you jump onto a chart, the first thing you are doing, the very first thing you are telling yourself is it buying or is it selling? Is it up? Is it down? Because you're 50% done with your work once you identify the direction of the market. I can't stress that enough. If you identify the direction of the market, 50% of your work is done. Because you're not going to say, well, if I'm buying, I'm going to look for sells. No. Unless the market really tells you to, for sells in a buyer's market, then you go ahead and do it. But until then, no. You're buying up until you reach a significant price point, being here. So US oil is a buy up until this point, and if broken, we'll write this out in parentheses. If broken, it's a confirmed buy. See how easy that is? Price, action. Identify the most relevant level of price, right up here, and identify the actions that proceed within them. We haven't reached that point yet. So you want to make sure that you identify, well, if you see this, you're like, oh, well, you know what? It hasn't reached this area yet. It hasn't reached my sell point. And I know I'm in a buyer's market. All right, so 50% of my work is done. I'm looking for buys. Now, the other half, the other 50, is marking up your chart to identify where you're entering from. This is a strong, impulsive move. After that impulse, what do you think is going to happen? The initial correction. Where's the correction going to end at? To start its next impulse, being, let's say if it comes back down here, respects the structure, the trend line. Oh, wow. That's a lot of confluence. Now you have a better idea for a buy. So it looks like you don't have any room for, because you're like, oh, but why would I buy from like this area up until it reaches these highs up here? The space isn't there. That you're right. That's why the market's going to give you one last chance as it corrects lower, gives you the idea, okay, well, it's respecting structure, it's respecting the trend line. There's a fib ratio there. I'm getting a lot of confluence at that price. These are all actions. Then you can go ahead and identify a potential idea for a buy up until your first take profit. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to sell from that point. Just because it's resistance doesn't mean that the market is going to resist from breaking above. It can break this. So, in my honest opinion, that is your idea with US oil. Very simple concept. You never want to overcomplicate anything that you're looking at. Once you do that, then you're going to be like, oh, well, I don't know where I'm going to enter from. No money's going to be made. Then you're going to get deterred from trading. You always want to keep your trading as easy and common sense as possible, right? And what I mean by common sense is you're not doing stuff like this. And I know I do it a lot with you guys, but using like fib spirals and Gann fins and like you could do all this if you know how to use it, and if it you know what I mean, you like that stuff. But you don't want your chart ever being like that. You never want to overcomplicate your discipline in trading. If you can identify your core rules, right? My core rules, and I know we've went over this before, but support and resistance, candlestick patterns, fibs, and candlestick patterns, fibs, trend lines, right? Those are my main 4 things that I have to have in order for me to identify a entry and mark up a chart. I have to identify support, resistance, and the fact of price. I'm identifying those levels because at support resistance for me, this is just for my personal trading, those are where I'm looking for my entries, right? I'm looking to place my trades where the market has made moves from before. Because if it made a move from there before, there's an opportunity and a chance that it can make that same move again. The market is always going to repeat. It's like history is always going to repeat itself. And this is exactly what the markets do here. So if I can identify, well, this was a level of resistance before and it broke above that point, it can very much come back down to respect that what used to be resistance as a level of support and even buy from there. And the same concept at these lows here, right? So I'm always going to identify those levels of structure. When I do, I'm going to draw out to see if there's any fibs that we can have. And as you can see here, at least at these lows, there's a trend line rather, that could be met as confluence as well. We can see the connective points. So if the market comes back down here, we have another confluence for an entry because we have our structure, we have our trend line, and now we have our fib. We draw out our fib. That's like a 3rd level of support that the market can't break below. And then the last but not least, I know this is in no specific order, my candles. If I start to see candlesticks starting to reject from this point, if I start to see any bullish variance, that's telling me that sellers, or this correction rather, is over with and buyers are now taking control again so we can buy up into that next initial area. So hopefully that helps. Salah, hopefully that helps. You guys just have to look at the chart. Look at it. And I'm not saying this to sound disrespectful. Again, I know since I'm from New York, everything we say sounds crazy, but you always want to make sure that you're actually looking and you're telling yourself, bullish, bearish, is it up, is it down? Is there any trend lines that I can add? If I can't see it on this time frame, can I see it on another? Because on certain time frames, you're not going to see, I mean, obviously some structure points, because if we don't go to a higher time frame, because I know we're on the 1 hour, we wouldn't see these levels of structure up here. They're not relevant to me right now, but maybe in the future they would be. So you always want to make sure you're looking at everything, right? If you can't see the moves on these higher time frames, that's where you use those smaller time frames to find those initial entries and smaller structure points. But yeah, this is what I'm looking at with US oil. Hopefully that helps. So I'll put this aggressive buy. Aggressive buy zone. And the reason why it's aggressive is because it's not that much of a correction from these highs. And let me make sure this is measured correctly. I think there's space in between. There is. There we go. So if this isn't the best correction, like from these highs to just this point, so that's an aggressive buy zone because your risk to reward wouldn't be that great. There isn't as much confluence as I would want, being that it's just structure and a fib ratio, no trend line. But when we come down here, we have our conservative buys. Conservative buy zone. The reason for that is because the reason why it's conservative is because it's, one, a way better entry as far as the risk to reward is concerned. Because if we were to go ahead and buy this, and please do not buy this, this is not a entry or a trade. Obviously not, because it's not even at that point, but I just want to clear that up. So let's say if it reaches here, our take profit is at these highs, and our stop loss would almost have to come right below these lows. I mean, I personally would, because I like to give my trade a little bit of room to breathe. But if we were to trade at our conservative buy zone, now our risk reward is much better. It's in our favor, and I'd probably move my stop loss maybe just below these lows, because if it does break that trend line, I mean, it's without a doubt going to hit your stop loss. So that is a way better risk to reward than this here, right? So I would look at something more along the lines as this for US oil. If it can give you something like that, reach these initial lows, give you the respect of structure, give you respect of a fib ratio, and give you respect of that trend line, and then you can go ahead and look for your potential entries. But that's why it's important that I tell you guys to add those confluences together, because this is a game of probabilities, right? 50% you're done when you mark or when you identify the trend, but the other 50, the other half is coming from stuff like this, being detailed and understanding where you want to enter from, and is using these little tactics. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that clears up some things for you guys. If it did, if you guys are getting knowledge, if I've answered a question for you, please, by all means, it helps me. And what helps me is going to help you guys in the future. Go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help the community grow. We've grown this pretty exponentially, to be honest, in such a short amount of time. And I want to make sure that we're continuing that. So by all means, if you guys can help me out with that, if you're getting any type of value education, by all means, go ahead and like that, like this video. Definitely helps. So yeah, let me see what else you guys got, if anything. I am taking a look at the chat section below in case anybody is in the call and is wondering if I'm like paying attention. I definitely am. I absolutely promise. But yeah, let me see if you guys got anything else for me. Let me check the chats. Okay, it seems like you guys are good. But yeah, it seems like we got a bunch of people on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me go take a look at, let me actually take a look at Euro USD and some other like US cross pairs. Ooh, I do like this. Okay, so here's a trick, and I might actually do this with you guys while we're on the call. I'm starting to like the idea of sells on Euro USD. So let me check a higher time frame really quick. I'm gonna mark this up as I would real quick as just a regular, like I'm just trading in general without you guys on. So what I'm looking at right now is I'm just seeing if there's any potential PRZs on. Real quick, guys, I'm not looking at indices right now. I'm not going to look at indices right now. I'm going to look at them towards the end. And again, the reason being, I don't want you guys getting used to trading indices. I'm going to be the first person to tell you guys that. I know you guys see a lot of these people with screenshots. A lot of those screenshots are fake. I'm just being real, because those are the same people be in my inbox like, yo, I should have never traded it. If you do not know how to mark up a chart, if you do not have a entry criteria, you don't have a discipline, or your psychology is messed up, the last thing you are looking at is indices. Please understand that, guys. I don't want anybody losing money. I know you see these screenshots of people turning, negative $5 into whatever. Like, do not, I repeat, do not look at indices if you can't trade. I'm not saying that disrespectfully. I'm saying that because it is extremely important that you stay consistent with your trading. It's hard to stay consistent with a small account trading those indices. And I don't mean to say that disrespectfully again, but that's me being real. That's helping you out. I don't want people losing so much money that they lose confidence in trading. They just put it down and they never see what they could become as a trader. So I'm just being real with you guys. I'll take a look at that towards the end. Thank you so much for your help, and your knowledge is incredible. I appreciate it, Salah. If you can, if you haven't, like the video. I promise it helps. And share this with people. You know what I mean? I know what these sessions could do for you guys. I'm actually teaching. I'm actually educating. I'm really giving you guys knowledge and value. So if you know anybody who needs that value, bring them on. So I'm just taking a quick look at Euro USD because there's a potential trade that we'll be looking at. So we don't have any U.S. news, or we do actually have U.S. news in about 15 minutes. I just saw that right here. This is why it's always good to go ahead and do that. Check the news before you do anything. But right now we are at a pretty, I wouldn't say significant range, but we are at a what used to be support, ended up being resistance, and we're right back at that point. What I'm also looking at is the candlesticks at our current price on this time frame. These wicks to the upside on Euro USD equals rejection. Wicks equal rejection. So if I can see that the market is kind of giving us the idea of rejection from this point, I'm going to start looking for a potential sell, right? Now, I'm not just going to place a sell because on a higher time frame, we're starting to get some form of rejection, right? It's not the biggest amount. It's not going to give us, there's really no strong case for a sell since we're very much in a buyer's market. But what I am seeing, again, is if I look left to get right, we are at a pretty good structure point. But what I'm also seeing is the rejection of these candles in general, right? After a strong impulsive move, there's always going to be some form of correction. So I would at least put this here as my structure point. What used to be resistance is now going to be a level of support. So I am going to mark this level of structure here because that could be used as a buy range in the near future, especially since it's based off the daily. It's a higher time frame, right? So the higher the time frame, the stronger that confluence initially is. So I'm going to scale down to a smaller time frame, being the 4 hour, and you guys can see it a little bit better. I know on the 1 hour it looks even better, but we're starting to see a lot of rejection from this point, right? Again, this is a daily structure point. So when we get to these points, price, right? We identify the most significant level of price. We've done that. So if I can see that we've identified the most significant level of price, I now need to see the actions that proceed within that point. What are some actions that I can see? Well, didn't I say before wicks equal rejection, and the behavior of candlesticks at a price range will really determine its next move? We can start to see bearish movement. But it tried breaking above and it said, you know what, let me actually test the waters on this side and see if the grass is in fact greener. And you can see that it wasn't. It gave us another bearish variant, being a evening star candlestick pattern. So let's draw this out real quick. So an evening star candle pattern, right? And my man Rome already said it, right? So I'm already seeing some bearish movement, some bearish ideas from this point. I can also see with this current candle, wicks equal rejection. So if I can see that wicks equal rejection at a level of strong structure, a level of resistance rather, and we scale down to a smaller time frame, maybe you guys can see it even better. My man Rome, one of my students, already said it. My man said it's setting up. It is a head and shoulders pattern. We are not overcomplicating any of our trading. We make it easy so that way we can place our trades accordingly. So I'm going to take a huge risk on this because and I know I literally was just saying, I don't trade news. I'm going to do something extremely stupid. And I do not suggest you guys do this because there's a huge chance, a giant chance that we're wrong on this. But I'm going to go ahead and I got my phone. I'm over here looking for my phone and it's right here. I'm looking at it for the comments. I'm going to place a quick sell on Euro USD. I do not, I repeat, I do not really suggest you guys do this. Because we have literally news coming out in about 10 minutes. And that can throw our trade completely off. Next thing you know, this thing starts buying a million pips. It is a really stupid idea of what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to take the risk with a small lot size. Give me 1 second. Wow, I can't even find Euro USD right now. Okay, there we go. I got nervous for a second. I was like, can't get it. There we go. All right, I placed mine. So I'm going to move my entry a little bit lower because that's not where my entry was. I'm over right there. So I have personally, and I really, again, I suggest you guys do not do this. This is not a good idea whatsoever. But I have personally placed a buy, or a buy. I have personally placed a sell on Euro USD, right? Because I do think that with this head and shoulders pattern, with the market reaching that level of structure, that we're going to get an idea for potential sells from this area, right? And here's a trick too. If you're identifying a head and shoulders pattern and it's at a level of structure, you always want to make sure, or any head and shoulders pattern for that matter, you want to see if there's any entries based off of that left shoulder price, right? So if you look at this is the real structure point that you're trying to identify. If you can reach that point again, if you can ever get back to that resistance, you want to look for potential entries at that area. That is huge. So we're literally right back at that point, and we're already seeing some form of rejection. So real quick, if you guys are placing this trade and you guys are expecting this to win and be like, oh, I place a standard, please understand that that is really dumb. I don't suggest you guys take this trade because of the news and the risk behind it, because again, this could immediately skyrocket all the way up and completely kick us out of our trade. I did not put a stop loss as of yet. I'm just going to keep it open on my phone, so that way if I have to, I can exit it manually. But the reason why I don't put a stop loss during the news if I do trade it is because sometimes you get that initial spike, your stops are hit, and then it goes back into the original direction. So I haven't put a stop on it yet, but if I did, it'll look exactly where it is right now, just above the previous highs at about 40 pips. So I do want to wait to see how news reacts, only because I want to see if this does work out in our favor. Ironically, I remember last week, or I think it was last week, we traded news, and we called it perfectly. It was actually this move here, if I'm correct. Oh, wrong one. There we go. I think it was this move here, if I'm correct. We were able to identify a sell. It immediately spiked down. We were able to take some profits and spiked right back up. As you see here, went all the way down, came right back up, and started consolidating around that point, and now developing into a potential reversal or head and shoulders pattern. So again, if you guys are placing this, be very careful, and understand this is a really dumb trade. I'm being very honest. Trading before news without any, I wouldn't say inside information, because you never get that, but with any insight, right? Without any idea of what it could potentially be is the dumbest thing you could do. So I'm just simply waiting to see if the market does in fact give us a bearish push. I do have a theory where I believe that because everybody's like bank trades and bankers and what is it, stop hunts and market maker method. I'm not a fan of that. I know that, market maker method and stop hunts and all, that's not a real thing, right? The market is going to be reacting around price. Now, what is true is that banks do have a ton of money to trade, and they have a lot, and when they trade, there's a ton of volatility during that time. It's not the news that is causing the volatility and those big spikes. It's the actual money being flowed through the market during that time, and that's due to banks. So my theory is that everyone's using a strategy to trade, whether it's, some crazy strategy or simply price action. A lot of strategies revolve around price regardless. So what I've came up with, and this is not a fact, this is something I've just seen, noticed, it's happened more times than none. Hopefully we get another idea to back this theory up today. But I have a theory that if there was a sense of, I wouldn't say manipulation, but if the market did move before news, right, which I do believe happens, I believe that let's say the US dollar, the banks know the US dollar is going to increase in value, because if Euro USD sells, that means the dollar has gained in value. They'll allow the market, or not allow it, but kind of put it in a sense where it'll reach a specific point in price. At this case, a high point, right? We are at a very strong, significant level of resistance. We're at a high point in a bullish market. This could offer up and has a lot of room to sell. You're not going to want to sell at a low point, are you? But you would like to sell at the highest point. Sell high, buy low. I do think that my theory is that banks, I don't know if they allow it, manipulate. I don't know. I only got half of the theory in my head, but I think that the market will reach a specific high or low before news and then crash or almost even reverse, because there's so much more room to move in that direction than if it was a sell. Let's say if news came out now and it was down here, right? It's not going to want to sell at those lows because it's already selling. No bank, nobody, no individual is going to want to sell from those lows. But I do think that my theory is that it'll reach a specific point and then news will be used as a catalyst to really push that market in the opposite direction. So that is just my theory. I don't know if that's a true thing. I've just seen it happen more times than none. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for 5 minutes, see if this market does in fact start to sell off. What we're looking to see is if the dollar gains value. Now we're also going to see a lot of movement in the Canadian dollar. So if you're looking at USD CAD, anything CAD, be very careful. I was actually looking at NZD CAD earlier, but it didn't hit my buy limit, so I'm not even going to look at that anymore. But anything Canadian dollar related, you're going to see a strong impact on that in the next 4 minutes. So we'll see how this works out. We'll also see a huge impact here on gold, which is kind of like, and look at this. Remember what I said? Allow that next candle to open before you do anything. It did push down a little bit lower, but as you see here, it's kind of coming right back into that initial zone. So what could happen is, let's say the dollar comes out really strong. Gold is going to sell off pretty heavily. And again, if it comes back down to these lows and it's respected, there is an idea for buys, but I don't think that'll be the case. If the news comes out positive for the dollar, it's going to completely go past those that range. So we'll see what happens with these real quick, so that way we can identify the next real potential moves, and we'll have an idea of what to do for the rest of the week as well. Yesterday not being such a volatile day, we had a bank holiday, so we weren't really getting that many setups, that many trades, that much volatility. I do think right now the market is going to pick up that volatility as soon as this news is released. Again, if you don't know, the market is not going to be that crazy or volatile before news happens. The amount of risk that's behind losing money during the news is great. So we got to be very careful. Let me go back to Euro USD. Still just chilling around that area. That's absolutely fine. Did anyone actually go ahead and place trades on Euro USD? If so, let me know. And I'm looking at the stream right now. That delay is crazy. I got to figure out how to fix that. For some reason, it seems like at this point I'm looking about a 10 to 15 second delay. That's crazy. But yeah, any questions, any comments that you guys have, feel free to let me know. I definitely want to make sure that I'm speaking on relevance for you guys. I want to make sure that I'm really helping you guys understand how to trade a lot better. I'm seeing many familiar faces, some returning people, some returning viewers. That means I'm doing something correct. I appreciate every last one of you guys being on today and every day that you guys are on. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Because if I can grow this community based off of like just this, really educating, really giving you guys as much value as possible, I want to do that. I really want to make sure that I'm helping out as many people as I can. It's really important to me. So let me see. Now I'm just drawing this up a little bit further in the event that, let's say we're correct. Let's say Euro USD does go ahead and crash below or goes in profit for us, breaks our trend line, breaks our structure. Then we already know for a damn sure we're going to hold down to our targets down here. Yep, I got in left shoulder level. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I expect you to do that, Rome, no matter what. I know you're like a savage on the charts now. And I'm really proud of you, dude. I really am. I remember you came into this, you had an idea, and you were like, okay, let me do a little bit more. And like literally 3 days later, you're a whole savage on the chart. So I'm proud of you, bro. I'm glad you're doing great. I placed a trade with you. I'm in with a small lot size. Dominique, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's very risky. It's a dumb trade. It's a dumb idea. We have a few seconds left on this. It is not the smartest idea of what we're doing right now at all. If it loses, I've already told you guys, I just want to test my little theory out of using technical analysis before news, because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen a lot, actually. So I just want to see how it works out. Our entry is way off. That's why I'm saying it's a very stupid trade. It's very risky. Our entry's off. I would obviously like to get in up here, but let's see what initially happens. We have a few seconds left. Should be happening anytime now. Oh, right now. Let's see. We can actually go here. We'll see it happen on the chart first. It came out negative for the dollar. And I want to see what happened with Canadian. So it came out positive for, well, so far. Let's see what else. Positive for Canadian dollar. Okay. So let's see US, or let's check USD CAD. I was actually expecting a bigger move than that, to be honest. Okay. I was looking at GCAD sells as well. Good thing I got us out of that. We were looking at sells, and I put our stop. Once we got into a little bit, I think our profits were like, it was this candle that got us into profits. I put our stop loss right into at least a little bit of profit. So good thing I did that. Very good thing. I'm just seeing if we're getting any movement really from the news. I mean, we did get some type of move there. Let me go back to Euro USD. Honestly, I would have expected a much bigger move on the Canadian news. The US news, I didn't expect it to kind of just like be stagnant like this. I'm still going to hold my initial sells, my initial trade on this. It did come out negative for the dollar, right? So meaning that the dollar could, in fact, be losing its initial strength. So meaning that we can lose Euro USD sells. So in case anybody's in this, I know I placed this off of just, just testing this out, seeing what's up. But if you guys don't want to hold on to the risk, you do not have to. I used a very small lot size. But this is the thing too. As the news came out negative for the dollar, and it still has a ton of time for it to move. Like next thing, it looks like it's stuck now. Next second, this thing could be all over the place. But with the news coming out negative for the US dollar and it not giving us such a strong reaction against it, I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold on to the sell because it hasn't really shown us that the buyers are trying to truly take over as of yet. So if you are to sell on this and you're not in profits as of yet, that's okay. Patience. And I'll write it out in the way that I mean it. Patience. I definitely spelt it wrong even then, but you guys know what I mean, right? Patience. Get paid. Allow the market to fruition in your favor. If you're in a little bit of drawdown, a market is going against you, and you're like, oh, well, I'm losing money. It's okay, right? Sometimes the market's not going to be, you're not going to always enter perfectly. Look at the entry that we have now. This would have been a better entry. I know my man Starry over there has probably a way better entry than me. He's probably looked at this before. His entry is probably all the way up here, which is great. But even though we're in a little bit of drawdown, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to exit my trade or I'm wrong or it's a big deal. Absolutely not. You always allow the market to develop. We still have 30 minutes for this 1 hour candle to close. The next candle can open and come crashing back lower. I think within the this 4 hour, yeah, same thing. This 4 hour candle has 30 minutes to close as well. So even if this 4 hour candle can close bearish, leaving a strong wick to the upside, showing us a weak bodied candle, we can start looking for more sells. So let's see how this works out. If it doesn't, then that's okay. Stop loss or lot sizes should be very small anyway. But I wanted to see this. I wanted to see how that worked out. Because again, that theory that I have of the news or the market reacting off a specific price point before news, it's happened a few times where I'm like, well, is that a real thing? Does the market reach these price points before making its real reversal? I might get risky and sell again, I might place another entry. I might. Doesn't mean I'm going to right now, but it'll look literally the same. Same stop loss, same take profit, just a better entry. Because that would have been my entry I would have originally wanted. So I'm just going to let this develop. I want to see how this next candle opens, or how this candle closes as well. Because with the news coming out bearish for the dollar, we really should have expected a much bigger move. But sometimes that volatility does carry over into the next candle. So meaning that, let's say the next candle opens and it just wants to skyrocket to the upside, like that could be very much a thing. So I want to see how this develops a little bit. But if you guys want to hold on to that and take the risk with me, that's perfectly fine. I still feel pretty safe with this. But yeah, any questions, any other markets you guys want to take a look at, feel free to let me know. Again, I want to make sure I'm speaking on relevance, and I just wanted to test the waters on my little theory there. I know I said I don't trade news, but since we had such a perfect technical standpoint, I wanted to kind of see if that would work out. Because again, you can't gain your confidence if you're not executing. So I just want to at least execute. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Then I go back and I'm like, well, my theory's stupid and it doesn't work. And then I never place it again. But I'll never be able to understand that unless I try, right? So might as well. I'll watch on the sidelines. That's perfectly fine. That's absolutely fine. I did this on my live account with literally the smallest lot size that I could just like conjure up really quick. So even if I lost this, it doesn't even matter. It's not even 0.0001 of my account, or percent of my account. You know what I mean? So this would be the smallest loss that I could take as of right now. But we're starting to get a little bit of movement. I'm debating if I want to go ahead and enter this right now on a little bit above. But I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to teach you guys bad habits. I always tell my students that I'm not going to teach them bad habits with a lot of things that I do, so I'm not going to do the same with you guys. I don't want to teach you guys bad habits and like re-entering here and no need for any of that. But yeah, any questions, any markets you guys want to take a look at, feel free to let me know. Definitely want to make sure again that I'm speaking on relevance and really helping you guys out. GU kind of crashing. Yeah, it's really weird. The dollar came out, the news came out negative for the dollar, and everything's just kind of like meh. Kind of stuck. So I'm just seeing what else there is, if there is anything else. I know you guys want indices. There's nothing on these. SPX 500, NAS 100, nothing on these. I know a lot of you guys want to trade them, but I mean, the only thing I probably have is this. Oh, not even. Yeah, you're not trading this. Unless you're using a smaller time frame, but I don't use a smaller time frame. This is not a market that you would want to trade. Anything consolidated, choppy, just trade the smaller time frame if you want. Just structure. Buy from those lows, from this buy range. And you got a nice little sell range as well. I mean, that's it. I think a lot of what you guys got to understand, and I'm not saying this to sound disrespectful, guys. I'm saying this because it's very, very important that you understand this. Oh, New York City is waking up, everybody. Sorry. I know there's tons of noise in the background. I literally live in the middle of the city, so it's always going to be crazy. So, yeah, I mean, when we jump onto a chart, guys, and I'm telling you this from my heart, so I'm not saying this to sound rude. I'm saying this because it's really important that you guys know this. If you jump onto a chart, you know exactly what you're looking at, but you're second-guessing yourself. I know a lot of you guys do that. You guys second-guess yourself, or you need to see a markup from somebody else just to confirm what you have. Don't do that. You want to feel confident with your initial markup of what you have. And you always want to make sure that you're understanding what you're looking at. When I say that, it's because if you're on NAS 100, US30, or any one of these pairs, and you're like, I don't know what to do, it's probably because there's nothing there, right? On this right now, there's nothing here. There's no trade on this. I mean, the only thing I could possibly see, does that work? That kind of works, right? You got that bullish trend line. Coming back to some, let me see if there's any type of structure even coming left. Somewhat. You know what I mean? Like a market like this, I wouldn't trade. Trending, giving us higher highs, like stuff like that, yes. You know what I mean? But like this, yes. Trending, giving you actual movement, you can have that. You can look for trades. But this right now, current standpoint, you're not doing anything. It's not giving you anything. I think on a higher time frame, you're not really getting much either, right? I mean, the only thing I can say is we're retesting this point, so potential sell range. I mean, that's a good idea, but as far as anything else, nah. Because a small, like the 1 hour, 4 hour, not really giving you much. So the only thing I would say is you have that strong case for the sells, but I don't see the sells happening as of yet. You got to have some type of action. There's no actions as of yet on this. So be very careful with these markets. SPX 500, NAS 100, US30. These markets are crazy. I don't know why everybody. I know why everybody's trading them, but it boggles my mind. If you don't have more than 5 years of experience, you shouldn't be trading it. That's just my honest opinion. That's me being real with everybody, because it is not a market that you want to lose on at all whatsoever. But this is the only case of the only markup I would see. Honestly, you're at a level of daily and weekly structure. You're creating lower highs. You have this bearish trend line. You have 3 touches of it. 1, 2, now 3. And that's really it. I really wouldn't do too much else on this. Again, I don't like too much on my chart. I'm understanding the overall market. It's bullish as of right now, but we're at a level of significant structure. We're seeing that structure being respected because we're creating lower highs and somewhat almost lower lows, because this low is lower than this low, but this hasn't created a break below. Until we see something like this, that'll confirm it. But I really don't see anything on this as of yet, bro. And yeah, if you are new to trading, stay away from indices. You're going to lose a lot of money if you trade these without any knowledge. And I'm not saying that to sound rude. I'm saying that to save you. Trust me. Let me take a look at Euro USD real quick. Oh, still stuck. All right, ain't really doing shit. I thought we were going to get some movement from there. Yeah, same thing with USD CAD. Again, news came out for the Canadian dollar. Seems like it came out pretty positive for it. And this is looking like a break-even standpoint, if you will, and not really giving us much movement on that. Let me see, like another pair that doesn't have the US cross pair. Okay. So even though it came out positive for the Canadian dollar, it's not really giving us too much volatility. So I would expect the markets to act in their price action, standpoint, meaning that the news isn't going to reflect on the movement of these markets, hopefully. So what I might do is I might go ahead and place another entry on Euro USD. I want to see how the next candle opens on the 1 hour and 4 hour, especially on the 4 hour, because if this candle can close with a wick to the upside or a larger wick to the upside, giving us a little bit more bearish confirmation, that really confirms that the structure will be held, that the head and shoulders pattern could end up developing into actually a real head and shoulders pattern, meaning that it'll break below the neckline and its structure. That'll confirm it even further. So I want to see how this initially reacts for us here in the next 17 minutes. We have until the 1 hour and 4 hour candle close together. But we are getting some reaction from there. So if you guys did sell Euro USD, understand that there's a large risk behind it because of the news that came out, and especially since we understand that the news came out negative for the dollar, which means that the Euro USD could end up buying. So let's be careful with that, but I'm going to hold on to it. But yeah, doesn't seem like you guys have any other questions, anything else for me. So if you guys are good, we'll conclude for today. Just wanted to make sure that I marked up some charts with you guys, really understood what we were looking at, see if there was any opportunities for us. The only opportunity that I saw was Euro USD. I will be taking a look at gold, and I'll be sharing these. I know I said I was going to share them with you yesterday, but I didn't like how some of the markets were going to move. So I didn't share the markets or the charts with you guys in case anybody did look at those as trades. I didn't want you guys placing it so that way you guys didn't lose any money if it did, in fact, or if it did not work in our favor. But with these, I'll share them anyway, because I know you guys like to see the charts anyway. So if you are in the Discord, I'll put these up for you guys in a second. If you guys are not a part of the Discord, make sure that you go ahead, check the description below. I do have the link to our Discord there for you guys to take advantage of as well. I know that our Euro JPY trade did not hit, or it hit our stop loss yesterday. So if I find any trades, I'll probably share two with you guys. Make back the loss from yesterday, and then the other trade should put you guys back into a matter of profits. That's kind of like how I do with binary as well. Speaking of binary, for my legacy students, if you guys are on, we will be trading binary here within a little bit. Nobody's on the binary sessions. I don't know why. We be killing it on those calls. Personally, I've been fucking rocking it. So for legacy students, if you're on and you want to trade binary, feel free to let me know. I'll make a little section in the Discord. I know I don't have it yet, but I'll make a section in the Discord for you guys for binary, so that way you have binary instructions, know where to go open up a demo account if you would like to, or even in the same place where you can open up a live account. So I'll put that in the Discord for you guys for legacy students, so that way you guys are up to par. But yeah, if you guys need anything, feel free to hit me up. Latasha Rogers, this has been helpful. Thank you. Yep, absolutely, never a problem. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back on first thing tomorrow morning. Again, I really want to make sure that I'm helping and assisting to the best of my abilities. So if you guys could just do me one quick favor, it's really important that we grow this through organic growth. I'm not trying to pay for bots and comments. I really want to build a real trading community. So if you guys can like and share this, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. It really does push this channel above the rest, so that way I can really help as many people as I can. And the more people we have on these calls, the more knowledge I'll be dropping, the longer I'll be staying on, the more trades you guys will be getting as well. So if you guys help me, it's definitely going to help you guys and benefit you to the max. I absolutely promise. For legacy students, obviously I'm going to be putting out as much information, all my time and all the profits I possibly can for you guys. We do have our 2 other traders kind of like back from their vacation fully, so they're going to be jumping on heavily as well. For the auto trader and binary, we're always going to be trading binary. So if you guys would like, by all means, let's get started with that, and we could trade every morning after these YouTube calls. So with that being said, guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Smoke Signal, Morse Code, anything you guys got, I'm always available. I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Legacy students, I'll see you guys here within the next 30 minutes as well. So thank you guys. Have an amazing day. Stay